Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. Just saw Kiss the Future documentary, Bosnian War, 1990s. The band U2, some very important other players in this story. Even former President Bill Clinton is interviewed. Should you go see this movie? Should you go not? I think you should. I think it's a movie worth seeing. You don't have to be a particular historian or person who has an interest in the band U2. Obviously, the story, well, maybe not obviously, it's bigger than U2 because it's about war and these artists, these musicians, and other people trying to have hope for the future, hope that they can live nice lives after the bombings and the snipers have stopped their business. uh, I'm not always that informed on world events. Sometimes it's overwhelming, it's overbearing. I mean, you see these war crimes, and as an American civilian, what can I do? You know? Uh, However, back then, 1991, 92, apparently, Bono, the lead singer of U2, was informed of what was going on to these poor people in Sarajevo, which I guess was like, I don't guess, this movie just told me, was this artistic city. And all these, the idea being this war person, this warmonger, and I will say his name wrong. Spoiler, he's dead currently. Milosevic? I can't say his fucking name. But basically, his thought, apparently, at least as far as these filmmakers go, his thought was, if I stamp out the artisans and if I stamp out this city with cultural diversity, I will advance my agenda, which apparently he basically had those types of beliefs, similar to Nazis. Like, let me just have our own race that will be the dominant one, and everyone else can die. Um, and it's sad because the way see, I don't understand world or European conflict so much. I do know that there is a hell of a lot of conflict in Europe, so I'm not sure what's going on over there. But basically, it seems like he was kind of stamping out his own people. Maybe he didn't consider them to be his own people, but it's like the country is kind of attacking its own city. I mean, see, maybe this is beyond me. Like the beginning of the movie, the first 5 minutes, they kind of lay out this whole political drama. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, I don't understand it. Like, I need to rewind the fucking movie, but I don't have a remote control because I'm actually in a movie theater. So, like I said, some of these world events go over my head or to the side of my head. But I think, we get to the point in this film where I did enjoy the documentary. It's a well-made documentary. Obviously, the music is very good. It's not just U2 music. They use other musicians. The Clash, of course, which was a punk rock band that a lot of people, see as a rebellion type of band. London Calling's in there. One interesting choice of music, and I don't know if I would agree with this choice, although the song did work well for the sequence, which was that Foo Fighters song, One, One, on to the next one, done, done. That's fucking songs in here. That song, I want to say, when was that song? Well, maybe it was from the 90s, now that I think about it. I mean, I guess I was thinking that song was a Foo Fighters song. I was thinking it was a 2000s Foo Fighters song, but maybe because the Foo Fighters did get going shortly after Cobain's death in Nirvana, so the Foo Fighters were up and running, I guess, by 95, 96. So maybe the song, although it came out later than when it was, used in the sequence of events in this film, I just like, my point is, I like songs in a documentary, especially where the music is time appropriate. I think that Foo Fighters song could have been anywhere between 3 and 10 years after the sequence in the film of which it's matched up to. Now, the song did work for the sequence. However, like I said, and also I don't really like the Foo Fighters a whole lot. No offense, Dave. What else? I mean, I like this type of thing. You know, it makes you proud of those Generation Xers. You know, all these millennial fucks and all these baby booming assholes and all these Generation Ys and X's and Z's and whatever the fucks get all the excitement. But the Generation Xers were right in the middle of all this. MTV was a big portal for energy. Also, like I said, I mean, did I say this or not? I was never a big U2 fan. I always kind of thought they were a bit obnoxious. I remember reading an article about the Zooropa tour, Spin magazine, if you remember that. And basically, Bono was addressing the audience somewhere at some concert, and his line in the concert was to the audience, "Someone's got to be the rock and roll star. It might as well be me." And I just, ever since reading that, I just thought, what a pompous asshole. But I have to give him credit. He's done more for people in the world than I have, you know. So, I mean, what the fuck? But I do have a newfound respect for Bono, and perhaps I should have had this wonderful respect for him all these years, and now I've missed out. So what can I say? What else? You know, and it makes you think. And as I'm watching this movie, I'm basically thinking this thought myself. As music is helping at least bring some awareness to this god-awful situation, these people under siege, basically pretty much everyone in the audience is thinking the same thing. Although tonight I was literally the whole audience in this movie theater, because, you know, people always bitch and complain, oh, there's no good movies, there's just the superhero movies now. Well, assholes, this was a very good movie in the theater tonight. Where were you, assholes? So I'm in this theater by myself, enjoying this movie, coming to this conclusion. We need a fucking concert like this right now. We need this sentiment now. People coming together, you know, people not killing each other, all these wonderful things. And basically one of the last talking heads in the film, in the documentary, basically summarizes what I just said in her own more eloquent words. She says, you know, when I look back at this, because what U2 did is they wanted to do a concert in the middle of the massacre, but they were basically held back and said, look, you guys might get assassinated, so we can't have the #1 rock band in the world killed here. So they waited until the war was over. Finally, the UN approved strikes, military strikes, and within days this thing was over after 3 years. It took 3 years for the UN to allow for 4 days of bombing, and I guess that was it, you know. So Sarajevo is starting to rebuild itself, and U2 finally comes over for this concert. And as we're seeing, Bono's voice cracks, it breaks, and the fucking audience has to help him sing his songs. And you know, one of these talking head ladies who was at the concert, she was a teenage girl at the time, she basically says, you know, looking at this footage now, you know, as much as this concert meant to us back then, as much as it was a spark to get the city back up and going, I think the world needs this type of concert even more now. And then we go into as the movie started, kind of like the old Zoo TV tour. If you don't know what that is, U2 went on tour, and they had like all these giant TVs and projection screens, and it was kind of a commentary on, you know, the oncoming age of media overload information and internet and 24/7 news channels. So, I mean, you give U2 credit. They were kind of on the forefront of all the media overload. They were making a commentary on that. And they were turning their channel because they had satellite feed of things around the world. And they started piping in the people from Sarajevo. And at some point, you know, I guess they pulled the plug on that because it became so depressing. How do you go back to your rock and roll concert when you've just interviewed people that are being shot at and killed? I mean, one thing, now that I mention it, a very stunning visual in this film, is that these people in Sarajevo that were basically surviving on a daily basis, avoiding sniper fire and so forth, they would go into this underground rock club where they would play music, okay, and enjoy each other's company. And one night the drummer shows up and he's got his fucking hand blown off. So you got a drummer with one hand, and they show this picture, the photographs of this guy with basically his fucking remaining stump. It's all taped. He's got a fucking drumstick taped with electrical tape to the stump of his hand, and he's continuing to drum. I mean, it's like, what the fuck? So now I guess my own fucking twisted mentality of this thing, when I'm watching this movie, I really am growing a hatred for this fucking guy, whoever he is, Milosevic or whatever the fuck. And I'm thinking, well, what happens to this asshole? I mean, does he just get off the hook? I mean, he's caused 3 years of executions, for crying out loud. I mean, they show that literally they took a group of men. They separated the children from the women. They took the women and the children and separated them from the able-bodied men, and lined up all the able-bodied men in a fucking ditch and shot them all and killed them all. And then a couple of months later, I guess this was August of, was it 95, I think? Another massacre where like they go, the shell of a missile or something wiped out a bunch of civilians who were trying to buy bread from the market. So finally, the world leaders had enough, and they intervened and so forth. But yeah, I'm jumping all over the place just because it's a lot to take in, folks. I mean, when you see a documentary, and like basically right now, and look, I've not really said a whole lot, because I don't know a whole lot, of these world situations, Gaza and Israel, and I did see that footage from the concert, and today there was reports of people in Palestine, civilians being killed. So I don't know who's to blame. Is everyone to blame? Is no one to blame? Who the fuck knows? I mean, I don't have an opinion other than it's horrible and it's tragic. I don't know. I try to get the information. I try to find these, and I do. I watch the YouTube videos, and some of these assholes have videos. 8 minutes, and you'll understand the Israel-Palestinian conflict in 8 minutes. Well, I guess I need another 8 minutes because I've watched several of those fucking videos and I still can't wrap my head around it. And so forth. And then Russia and Yugoslavia. This movie, apparently, when this documentary was being, made or produced or whatever, they kind of end on more of a Russian Yugoslavia beat. Basically saying that this repetition of violence and repetition of violence and war and conflict and man's inhumanity to man, it continues. We think we got it figured out, and then we just do the same shit. When I say we, I just mean people in general, okay? So I don't know what to tell you. And this is the type of thing where once again, we're living our lives, we're trying to pay our bills, we're trying to do our thing, enjoy the fucking sunshine, try to have a nice life for yourself. And then if you get into these thoughts of these world events and everything, it can get very depressing. Is probably the word that comes to my mind. Exhaustive. It could get, you feel that life is pointless. You feel that humanity is doomed. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel that the documentary causes that feeling. I feel like that's the world events causes that feeling. And then you could get into this whole, fucking existential rant of, are we better off not paying attention? Are we better off not thinking about things that are out of our control because we cannot control them? And some people might argue that because you have people in the world, and I know people like this, who don't check the internet, don't go to YouTube, don't read the newspaper, and they just concentrate on their own stuff. And that's one way to live. And then you have other people who are, news cycle enthusiasts, even addicts. They always have to know what's going on every goddamn minute of every goddamn thing in the world. And then you have people like me who kind of pick and choose and kind of filter in and filter out of my world awareness. And there's some things that I'm pretty focused on or informed of, and there's many things that I'm not. So I don't know. I don't have the remedy. I don't have the cure for your ailments, world. I just know that you're sick. How about that? Okay, folks. So should you see this movie? Should you fucking not? I think so. I mean, I might be I'm more bleak about the content of life than about this movie. But I did think this movie was very well made. I did like the fact that you see a lot of people from the 1990s and then you see them back now. So I kind of like that stuff. MikeMessier.com. If you've liked this review, you can buy my books. Go to MikeMessier.com. Scroll down. Fight or Play Basketball. My Gothic Horror, Distance from Avalon. Mike Messier. Subscribe. Why don't you?